Imagine a world cloaked in ice. The air is sharp, the landscape vast and untamed. In this world, our ancestors were not just surviving, they were asking questions. They were forging the very first bonds of what we would come to call culture, spirituality, and community. For decades, we believed these profound aspects of humanity were a recent invention, perhaps only 40,000 years old, blossoming with the famous cave art of Europe. But what if we've been wrong? Recent discoveries are pushing the horizon of the human story back by tens of thousands of years, into a deep, shadowy past where the embers of ritual were first kindled. The evidence doesn't come from grand temples or golden idols, but from the silent, profound testimony of earth, stone, and bone. Let us journey to a site that shatters our old assumptions and introduces us to the original thinkers of the human family. The Hook, the Cave of Secrets. Deep in a limestone cave in what is now Botswana, archaeologists made a discovery that stopped them in their tracks. It wasn't a skeleton or a new tool, but something far more enigmatic. A massive, carved stone serpent, its body emerging from the cave floor, surrounded by over 130,000 artifacts. This is Rhino Cave, and the findings here date back an astonishing 70,000 years. But to find the true roots of ritual, we must travel even further back, to a time when two species of humans still walked the earth. Scene setter. The first spark, 100,000 years ago. The wind howls outside the mouth of Qafzeh Cave in modern-day Israel. Inside, the flickering light of a fire casts long, dancing shadows on the walls. A small group of Homo sapiens, our direct ancestors, are gathered not for a meal, but for a ceremony. A child has died. This isn't a scene from a movie. It's a story told by the archaeological record. At Qafzeh, dating back 100,000 years, we find the oldest compelling evidence of ritualistic burial. But it's not just the act of burial that is significant, it's the details. One of the skeletons, that of a young woman, was found with a fallow deer skull placed delicately on her chest. Another child was buried with a pair of majestic red deer antlers, carefully positioned over their small body. The why? The birth of symbolic thought. Why does this matter? Because these aren't just grave goods, they are symbols. They represent a cognitive leap as monumental as the invention of the wheel. Placing the antlers of a powerful, swift animal with the dead suggests a belief in an afterlife, a world beyond the visible. It implies that these people were asking the fundamental questions that still haunt us today. What happens when we die? Is there a spirit? How do we honor those we have lost? This symbolic thought is the bedrock of all ritual, all religion, and all art. It is the moment we stopped being merely clever apes and started becoming human in the way we understand it. The deer antler wasn't a tool. It was a message, a prayer, a bridge to the unknown. A deeper mystery, the Neanderthal connection. Just when we think we have the story straight, it deepens. At Botswana Cave in France, deep underground, broken stalagmites were arranged into mysterious circular structures by Neanderthals, 176,000 years ago. This was not a dwelling. It was a constructed space, a sanctuary. The effort to build this in pitch darkness, far from the cave entrance, speaks of a purpose that transcends the practical. It hints at a gathering place for rituals we can only imagine, proving that the capacity for such complex behavior was not ours alone. The legacy, the unbroken chain. So, what do these discoveries from 100,000 years ago tell us about ourselves? They tell us that the human need for ritual, for meaning, and for connection is not a cultural add-on. It is woven into the very fabric of our species. The grief of that parent in Qafzeh Cave, the awe of those Neanderthals in Botswana, the community that gathered around the stone serpent in Rhino Cave. Their emotions are our emotions. The rituals we perform today, blowing out birthday candles, gathering for a wedding, observing a moment of silence, are the direct descendants of those first brave acts of symbolism. They are the unbroken chain linking us to the minds of the first humans who looked at a star-strewn sky or a buried loved one and felt there was something more to say, something more to do. The next time you feel a sense of ceremony, or participate in a tradition whose origins you've forgotten, remember the cave, the fire, and the antler. You are not just following a custom. You are echoing a thought that is 100,000 years old. You are honoring the original spark that made us human. That spark, fanned by the winds of millennia, grew into the brilliant and diverse flames of human culture. It ignited the epic poems sung around campfires, the sacred chants in grand cathedrals, the silent prayers at family altars, and the shared cheers in a sports stadium. Every time we gather to mark a birth, a death, a graduation, or a new year, we are breathing life into that ancient impulse. We are using symbols, a diploma, a wedding ring, a birthday cake to transform a mere event into a meaningful moment, binding our community together just as our ancestors did in the flickering light of their caves. This profound legacy is our true inheritance. It is not written in stone or bone, but in the very rhythm of our hearts and the collective memory of our species. We are the storytellers, the meaning makers, the ritual keepers. Our greatest power has never been merely our ability to survive, but our enduring need to signify, to affirm that our lives, our loves, and our losses have a purpose that echoes beyond our own brief time. In honoring that need, we continue the most ancient human tradition of all, the ceaseless, beautiful quest to find light in the darkness and meaning in the mystery of being. If this journey into our deep past resonated with you, subscribe to the channel to explore the next chapter in the human story. What ancient ritual do you find most fascinating? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.